What is sharpening? Is sharpening the same as honing? Sharpening a knife is, of course, to get our blade edge, our cutting edge, as sharp as possible. Actual sharpening gives us a new sharp edge, whereas honing keeps that edge sharp, so we don't have to sharpen our edge all the time. Sharpening takes away metal from your knife, so you only want to do it maybe about 2 times a year. And sometimes you need to get that done with a professional. Sometimes if you have a sharpener, you can do it yourself. And you shouldn't have to do it that often if you hone your knife in between your sharpenings. But let's first learn the finer points of our knife. This is a Santoku knife, so it's shaped just slightly different than maybe a regular chef's knife. Let's look at the basic parts of our knife. This is a knife I'm sure that you will recognize. It's a basic chef's knife. We'll start at the point here. That's called the point. And then right just below that on the cutting edge side, that's called the tip. And you do delicate work with that. As you work your way back, this is called the edge. And of course then, at the back here, this is called the heel of your knife, right there. As we continue on back, we see now that we have a handle. And these are our handle fasteners, which fasten the material, whether it be wood or resin, to the metal portion of your knife. Right in through here you can see that metal that continues on. This is called the tang. And then we have the butt of the knife, which is the end of the knife. That makes sense. And as we come up over the knife, we can see the metal that runs through again. And this is called the spine of your knife. This gives support. Those are the parts of your knife. A sharp knife helps you to slice through your food, as opposed to a dull knife, which you would have to push hard and maybe almost chop through your food. That is dangerous because your food could slip, your knife could slip, you're having to use way too much pressure. You don't want to have to use a lot of pressure. You just want to be able to slice very nicely through your food. So that's why we sharpen our knives. An ideal knife that is sharpened should slice through paper. And to demonstrate that, you would just take some paper and see if your knife easily cuts through the paper. Then you know that your blade is sharp enough. This is a duller knife. Let's see if I can cut through the paper easily. Nope, I can't cut through it at all. This needs to be sharpened. I have a manual sharpener. It has a little wheel in here that turns as I drag my blade across. You'll see that the mouth is angled, and that's the perfect angle to sharpen your blade on each side. It's about a 15-degree angle, 15 to 20 degree, depending on your knife. You would just start at the heel of your knife and drag it all the way to the point. So resting the heel in there, and I'm resting my knife at that perfect angle, I would pull it through on one side and then go to the next side and pull it through. And you would do that until you got it sharp enough to cut through paper. There are also electric sharpeners that you can use, but you shouldn't have to sharpen your knife more than a couple times a year if you're honing your knife. Now, what is honing? A sharp knife has a nice sharp edge to it. Comes to a fine point, doesn't it? Over time, as we use our knife, our edge, instead of being a nice sharp edge like this, starts to curl. And then that would give us more of a blunt edge. It wouldn't be as sharp. And this is why we hone our knives. What a honing rod does is bend that metal piece, bend that curl back out of your knife and give you a nice sharp edge again. Ideally, you should hone your knife every 3 to 4 times that you use it. So maybe once a day. Depends how often you cook. If you're using your knife more than 3 or 4 times a day, you would hone it more. I recommend buying the best knife that you can afford. I don't even recommend buying sets unless you can afford a really nice set. I would start with separate knives and buy the best that you can afford. The better the metal, the sharper the blade will stay, and they will last much longer. This honer has ceramic wheels inside, and you would just do it like you're sharpening it. You're just gonna pull it straight through. That just keeps that sharp edge sharp between sharpening. Or you can use the honing rod. It's very important that your rod does not move on you, so just use a kitchen towel and it kind of holds it in place for you. You would grip up on the handle. You can see what I'm doing. Hold it straight up and down. Take your knife. Rest the heel of your knife against your honing rod and then turn your knife till you get about a good 15-degree angle. That's about 1 o'clock on a clock. And you would drag your knife across. Same to the other side. Drag your knife across and down till you get to the very point of your knife. So heel to point, all the way down. You are doing about 3 to 4 strokes per side. That's really all you need to realign your blade. So take that little curl out, and now you have your edge sharp again. Your knives will last a lot longer if you hone in between your sharpenings. Alrighty. So to recap, you want a very sharp blade. So you may need to get it professionally sharpened once or twice a year. Sharpening takes material away from your knife, so that's why you don't want to do it too often. And if you hone your knife every 3 to 4 times of use, you will not have to sharpen it so often. It will keep that blade nice and sharp for you, because a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife.